This is another episode of Penny for My Thoughts. I got tea today. I want to speak today about therapy. I am a big advocate of therapy. I have gone to therapy many a times. Just and not many a times. I don't want to make it sound bad, but I moved, so I had to get another therapist. But I am a very big advocate of therapy, and I know therapy isn't for everyone. Like some people, they therapy doesn't maybe not affect them as much, or maybe they just don't like to talk. But I am a person that loves to talk, as you can see, and therapy really helps me a lot. I'm a person that likes to release and express and talk, and it helps me. So therapy definitely helps me. I think that you need somebody to help you to release your thoughts and release your mind and release some of the baggage that you feel like that is on it. Even if you don't have baggage, just everyday life with everything going on in the world all the time, with negativity, with social media, with the economy, with everything. Every day, even if you're not stressed or haven't had trauma or whatever, you just need therapy just every day. Just to go outside, just to watch TV and all the stuff that you see and hear and everything. You just need therapy. I literally believe that just everybody needs therapy at some point, at least one session, because the world is just crazy. Human beings is crazy. Things are just always crazy, and they haven't just started being crazy. They've been there. We're just more exposed to it. But I really advocate therapy. I feel like, and I'm just saying, just me personally, I've there's a lot of things that I've dealt with in my life, a lot. Trauma, just just broken home, everything. And I used to be one of those people that, okay, I'm a strong person, I can deal with it, until I started to feel like I wasn't dealing with the stuff was dealing with me. And I was becoming robotic and just feeling like, okay, well, this happened to me, or I went through this, and okay, let's just move on with it. And really, I feel like, you may feel like those things don't affect you, but they do. It causes a invisible wound. You may not see it, but it causes an invisible wound, or like hairline fracture. And I feel like even though you're a strong person, concrete and brick crack too. And sometimes you just need to redo it, and maybe you need the right person to help you to redo it. And in me, I used to think that, therapists had it all together. They're helping other people and they just have it all together. No. I've learned, even from the couple of therapists that I've talked to, they say they're in therapy, and I was shocked. I was like, therapists are in therapy? But then I thought about it and I said, okay, that makes sense, because, we're human beings. We deal with things, we deal with life and everything else. And then, they have their own baggage. Then they have to help someone else and basically, take on their baggage, and that's double the baggage. And I know, they, as a therapist or psychiatrist or whatever, they hear a lot of things, and you know a lot of things that is maybe disturbing, or whichever, and then they need somebody to talk to. So, and I just learned that in the last like 5 years, that therapists are seeing therapy. And me being the person like that likes to motivate and, actually talk and to listen to people. I used to say to myself, I mean, I wonder if I could be a therapist. I was like, no, I got too much problems. I got too much baggage. I'm still figuring out my own stuff. And I told my therapist that. And she was like, we have therapy too. We're in therapy. So I advocate therapy. I really do. But I know that you can't push therapy on people because some people are uncomfortable with talking or expressing themselves. And that's men and women. Now, they say that it's just more of a man thing, that men are, taught to be hard and taught to be hide their feelings, which I truly disagree with. But women go through that too. And I will say I used to be one of them. I used to be, just deal with it, didn't want to just, be strong, want to be tough. Everybody sees me as this, person that just has it all together. And really, just crumbling inside, and certain things I didn't know bothered me that I thought didn't, and it really did. you know just putting it in. And I told my therapist, I said, I feel robotic. There's different parts, and just you just move on and just get over them. And then, the people around you pretty much, encourage that, move on and get it over with, or, sweep stuff under the rug. That's why I am a type of person that I hate sweeping stuff under the rug. I hate sugarcoating. I despise it so much because, that's what I grew up with. And sometimes what you're around and what you grow up with is what you do until you was like, look, I need to be different. I need to, worry about I'm very, very, very adamant, even about mental health too. I've seen, I've struggled. I can only say things that I've struggled with myself. And I know, for me, therapy is very, like, I feel like when I talk about things and release it, even with it, I feel so lifted and just happy. I could be having a bad day, and there's been many a times, I mean, I've talked to my therapist, and just me expressing makes me feel like I am on a cloud, just lifted. I can just be all day. And I know some people just, they don't maybe they don't understand that, or they feel like they can't get to that, or they're just so closed in, and, they feel like therapy don't work for them. And some people don't. Some people, they'll get therapists, and maybe that therapist isn't the right fit for them. You know, I've noticed that, I've learned that there's different therapy. Like, there's trauma, there's, attachment, all those type of things. Then there's, like, therapists that just allow you to just talk and as you're talking, figure things out on your own. And then there's, therapists that give you feedback and things like that. Now, I like feedback. The therapists I've had one that didn't give much feedback, and then one that did give feedback, and I like both because I like different perspective. I'm a person that I have a lot of perspective, but I want somebody else's perspective. Like, I feel like also with therapy, like, you can get a different perspective. You don't, you know, there's things that maybe you haven't done right, or you're not thinking right, or that you need to rethink. And I feel like a different perspective is good. And also being able to take constructive criticism, and, you know even the things that make you upset, at some point a therapist can say, okay, hey, you may be upset about it, but then you think about it, like, you know what, that it causes growth. Talking and expressing causes growth. For me, it does. I can't, and I don't want to. That's why I keep saying for me, because I don't want to speak for everyone. But for me personally, it helps you grow and just hear a different perspective, and also unlock things that you feel like you couldn't even unlock. I've been there. Unlock doors that you're like, hey, I didn't even think about that. Or, I didn't even think I thought that way. I didn't know I felt that way. It helps you unlock the unseen wounds, the unseen barriers, the unseen walls, even the ones that are seen too, but even the unseen ones. And I feel like, therapy gets a bad rap in certain situations. When we talk about certain communities, when we talk about, religion and things like that, and it's just like, we're human beings. Or we talk about things like men and women. It's like, it's not encouraged for men to get therapy in certain situations, you know, and it's just like there's people that they would be better off if they talked to somebody. There's people that have, ended their life and everything else, and it would have been way better if they would have just talked about, the situation to somebody. Thinking of a spare the moment type thing, doing a spare the moment thing, and they could have just talked about it. So, I really, really advocate for therapy. I really do. And, and as I mentioned, like things with like religion, I come from a religious background and a old school religious background. So, sometimes it's, just let God handle it, and don't talk to therapists, and that's going against God. How, when God put it in people to want to help people, to want to be therapists? Why would God, bless a person to want to feel that way if it's bad? Yes, you talk to God, but that's on a spiritual level. You also need a physical person to talk to too. And I'm pretty sure, you're not going to, God isn't going to be mad about that, because it's like He put it in people. He put it in people to be doctors, He put it in people to be nurses. And some people will go to a doctor or to a nurse, if they have health problems, but if their mind is unhealthy, they won't go to, because they don't want to look a certain way. And it's just like that is mental health. It's health no matter what. Your mental health is important. And it's some people or like some families or whatever make people feel bad, or they gotta feel crazy. You don't have to be crazy to go to therapy. You don't have to be crazy to go to psychiatry. What does crazy even mean? Because we're human. We break. We build ourselves back up again, but we break all over again sometimes. And I feel like it shouldn't people shouldn't feel bad to just want to get help. What is wrong with that? That is the most positive thing ever. Like, that is a positive thing to say, hey, I need help in this category, or whichever. And then you have other people in your life that don't understand it, and they'll say, well, you don't need therapy, and why are you going there? And or it's the telling your business thing. But you're telling your business to a person in one room that is trained to, also not only trained, but also have the passion to help you and for you to talk to. You're not, that's not, you're not exposing everything like on social media, or like going outside and yelling it to the neighborhood of, what you're going through. You're talking to somebody that, is trained and also have the passion to help people, that want to talk to people and give them insight and help them through their mental issues. Because mental is a real thing. You have a mind, you have a spirit, you have issues. And I don't feel like, you know, when it, and I'm saying, like, especially when it comes to like religion and families and things like that, I don't feel like people should make people feel bad about wanting to go get help. If you it seems like sometimes it's more acceptable to go to the doctor, or go to the hospital than to go to a therapist. Also, I feel like, you know, it's, and on the religion thing, it's, you need both. You can depend on God. You can have faith on God, and you know, talk to somebody. Just because you have faith in God don't mean that you don't have mental issues, or you don't have physical. Even some physical issues causes mental issues. People are sick, people have terminal illnesses that causes mental issues. Even if you never had any type of mental issues, if you was just completely fine, and okay, you find out you have some type of terminal illness, that stresses you out. You have to think about this every day. There's a lot of people that they were fine, and then they have that, and then they're like, okay, I can't deal with this, and they have to go to therapy. So it's like it comes in handy in all different categories. I also feel like I don't really like the fact of men not being able to go to therapy when sometimes they are the ones that need it the most. You know, they say, as a man, you're supposed to support your family and you work and everything else, but they have to go to work. Sometimes they're in a toxic work environment. Sometimes, they have multiple jobs. The weight on them to take care of their kids, to take care of their spouse, to take care. Sometimes they're taking care of their elderly parents or whatever. That weighs on them. Who are they to talk to about it? And then you have men that are, they dealing with all that, and they come home and they take it out on their family because they don't have anybody to talk to, because they're geared to say, okay, well, I got to be tough, I got to hold it in, I got to hold on for my family, I don't want to look weak. But it's like, what is looking weak? You're a human being. You are weak because you're human. God made us humans. We're strong and we're weak. We're weak and we're strong. We're strong and we're weak at the same time. We're strong separate. We're weak separate. We're weak for 5 minutes and then we're strong for 10 minutes, or we weak for 1 minute then we go strong. It's things that happen. Sometimes you can be the strongest person, sometimes it can be one thing that happens and you just can't deal with. Like, there's people that go through, they lose their whole family sometime, or they're, as I mentioned, like, they get sick or whichever. Those things causes stress, and you need to talk to somebody about it. And I just don't agree with it being such a bad thing, like it has in certain situations. Even in certain communities, certain families, certain races, creeds, or whatever. It's okay. You got to be strong, and therapy is just, that's just making us look weak. And but you are weak because you're a human being. And I feel like it gets a bad rap going to therapy. Tea break. It gets a bad rap, and I really feel like some, even when it comes to like things like social media, I feel like people will, instead of, they will go on social media and air out all of everything before they go to a therapist. Some of these things clearly people need to go to therapy for. And I understand, like, you want to get a different perspective, you want to rant or whichever, but some of the people you're talking to aren't no better than you are. And sometimes they're giving you blind advice, negative advice, nothing that's, it's what is either based on them, or they get triggered or whichever. And it's like, that's not even the proper advice that you should be hearing at that time, you know and I feel like people will do that. They'll go in there and they'll go on social. They'll depend really on social media before they go to a therapist, and still hear toxic advice, and probably go back to whatever the toxic situation or whichever. And and I'm not saying that it's all toxic, because there's a lot of people on social media, like they give positive advice and positive feedback, but some of the toxic stuff is just like you could go to a therapist and really get real good advice or really talk out things or whichever. But that's one of those things that has its pros and its cons. And even like I feel like even with children, like therapy is good too. As I mentioned, I've went through trauma in my life, and I was raised as saying, okay, well, you keep all your business, you don't talk about it. Everything stays behind closed doors, or that stay in a child's place stuff. And it's just like, how can you stay in a child's place when you're going through and seeing adult things? You're not in a child's place anymore. You're not, and it's even like for kids to even go to therapy. Sometimes I feel like certain sometimes some parents will take their kids to therapy if it gets like if it's a situation that's just so bad. But like, why not take a child to therapy, period? Just because they are dealing they are dealing with stuff that adults are dealing with. It's stuff going on in schools. Some kids are afraid to go to school because all the things that go on with that. They're dealing with other kids in school. Then you got people going into schools and doing violent acts. Some kids are scared to go to school just for that. And or just family stuff, or just kids, their parents are divorced or whatever, or just different family dynamics, or just period. Why not take a child to therapy just because, just to talk, or whatever? It don't have to be nothing going on. Why not do that? I feel like that would be a good thing. But I understand that not everybody has their own thoughts about that. Maybe they just, I don't know, they don't want to alarm their child, or whichever. But I mean, if you're one of those parents that are just open and just like, okay, hey, anything you want to talk about, you can't talk about to me about it, or whichever. I feel like that would help a lot of things. Like if you, because kids go through things that parents, you can't even tell your parents. And then when a child is do something to themselves or whatever, then you wonder why. And it's just like they were afraid to talk to you about it or stuff like that. I feel like it's not a bad thing to just say, hey, I'm just gonna put my kids in therapy just because. I would do it. I would definitely do it. But I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, because everybody has their choice. I'm just saying what my perspective is and what I feel like would be beneficial. Because adults, we're not the only one dealing with the world. Teenagers dealing with the world, kids dealing with the world. It's just so much always going on, and things like that, and differences, and opinions, and this and that. And it's just like, you know, just the weight of it sometimes. And, I think that just 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 introducing that just in your life, period. There's times where there's people that are totally against therapy, and they go through something and they're just like, okay, well, why don't I just do therapy, and they come out a better person. Or they're like, okay, you know what, all the things that I had against therapy, I don't feel that way anymore. Because you know what do they say, you can't hurt until you try. But I know that there are people that are like very introverted, and like maybe they don't want to talk to therapists or stuff like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because honestly, you have the choice. You have the choice in how you feel, what you do. Not only that, when we talk about therapy, therapy is not only just going to a therapist. I've learned that therapy can be in anything, where they call vices, where you can get therapy in drawing, you can get therapy in just taking a walk. Like, That's therapy, because if you feel lifted after it, that is basically therapy. If you feel free, if you feel lifted after, now if it's positive, pretty much that's therapy. I mean, retail therapy. They call it retail now. That got its pros and its cons, because I mean, you feel lifted, but you didn't spent all your money and everything else. But so that's a pro and a con thing. So I can't really talk about retail therapy too much. But writing and stuff like that, expression period is therapy. Anybody that you could ask about how they express themselves, like writing and art and stuff like that, those are all expressions. It's therapy, because it makes you're using you're using what you're good at. You're expressing yourself. It's therapy. You're not talking, but it's still therapy. You're playing the piano. Therapy. If it makes you feel good, if you feel in a positive way, because everything that makes you feel good is not positive, but it's therapy. Reading, therapy. I would know this. I am a very creative person, and I write and I like doing this, speaking. It's all of this is therapy to me. I have anxiety, and these things, being expressive and talking to a therapist, is therapy to me. It releases negative thoughts, releases negative feelings. So it is like a form of therapy. Even if you're not talking to a therapist, it's a form of therapy. Listening to music, therapy. Especially if there's some people that just do it just for fun, but like some of us are like are creative and like, expressive and things like that. It gives us a sense of peace. Therapy is meant to give you a sense of peace. So it gives you a sense of peace. But so I can't, I won't say that you have to go to therapy to feel peaceful and therapeutic, but I would say it fits in with the therapy because it's therapeutic and, you know, and positive. That's why I say like everything that makes you feel good isn't always positive. And I go with that. But doing therapeutic things and talking to, and sometimes they work hand in hand perfectly together. I would know. I go to therapy and I do therapeutic things, and it really helps. And expression period helps. It's therapeutic, you know and I don't feel like you should feel bad about it. If you want to go to therapy, go to therapy. If people telling you that maybe you need to go to therapy, maybe you need to go to therapy. I mean, not saying but everything is on your own terms, everything is on your own time, yes. But if you're just thinking in your mind like, maybe I should go to therapy, then maybe you should go to therapy. Now, when it gets to therapy, here's another thing that I have a problem with. I feel like every insurance on earth, paid insurance, uh, insurance through your employer, government insurance, all of it, I feel like they should cover mental health, period. It can save lives. And I'm speaking on this because personally I've had insurances that say, hey, we don't cover, mental health. Or if we do cover mental health, it's a stipulation with it. You gotta make your quote, whatever, or your deductible or whatever. Why? I feel like it should be automatically paid for, just like when you go to the doctor, because if a person is saying, hey, I need therapy, but I can't afford it, And it's all over a technicality, and then they end up doing something to themselves because they couldn't afford the therapy. Then what? Then what then? I feel like, and if we and this is election, if we, someone need to talk about that. Why don't every single insurance, whether it's, like I say, whether it's low grade, high, whatever, premium, whatever, every single one of them, all of them, government, private, paid, from the marketplace, whichever, I feel like it should be covered. Mental health should be covered. Psychiatry, therapy, because it's to me, I feel like they will easily write you a prescription, and it is covered by your insurance. But why not talking to somebody? Why not therapy isn't always covered? You can go in and have some type of anxiety and or whatever, and they'll write you off a prescription, and it is covered by insurance. And I can't say all of insurance. I don't know, but that's just what it seems like. And it's just like, why can't going to speak to somebody be covered? Why can't therapy be covered? Why can't psychiatry be covered? I mean, I know there are people in the world that need therapy so bad and they can't get it because maybe they can't afford it, or their insurance isn't covering it, or whichever. And I'm not saying I know it all. I'm saying what I've went through personally, of saying no, we don't cover the insurance, or hey, you gotta do this or do that or whichever, because of whatever technicality. You gotta meet a deductible, you gotta this and that shouldn't even matter. I Mental health should be just as important as health. I mean, you have bad health. If you have bad health and you have issues and stuff like that, things that are life threatening, yes, but mental health is life threatening too. Mental health is life threatening too. There are people that they just needed somebody to talk to, maybe a time, or just it just builds up, and they feel like, hey, I mean, I don't have no means to even pay for therapy or go or whichever. Or it's there's stipulations of, therapy is only by substance abuse, or whatever, or substance abuse therapy or whichever. Like, why do you have to be on drugs to get support in getting your mental health paid for too? And I really feel like if you're paying for your insurance, they definitely need to give you mental health. Why should we even talk about deductibles? You're paying all this money for, like, shouldn't I be able to get what I want? I'm not, I'm just asking to speak to somebody. I'm just asking to, you know, worry about my mental just like I worry about my body health. I feel like mental health should be on the same playing field. You shouldn't have to be a substance abuser or whichever to for insurances or things like that to say, hey, we cover your mental health. You need to talk to a psychiatrist. You need to talk to a therapist. You have trauma that could be detrimental to your health, just like a physical illness. Mental health makes you physically ill sometimes. Literally. People have broken heart syndromes and stuff like that. Stress, mental health, literally stress. All and it causes your health to be bad because your mental health is bad. I feel like, and I know I'm just preaching to the choir, but I feel like every single insurance on earth should automatically cover mental health. Period. Period. And if you cover surgeries and things like that, going to a therapist costs less than a surgery. I mean, I'm not really sure, but I would think so. Maybe you'll keep a person out of the hospital with hypochondriac and all the other type of stuff. It's the mental issues. And I understand, even though, if a person had insurance that will cover their mental health, that don't mean they're necessarily going to go. But some, and like I say, I'm speaking from personal experience. I've had, insurance to say, hey, we don't cover mental health, or, only way we'll cover it if you meet your deductible, or, we're it gotta only be like substance abuse or whichever, or, some type of other situation. And I don't agree with that. I don't. I feel like mental health should be just as important as health. And it's like the world, and you hear all these campaigns. I was thinking about mental health. Okay, well, if it's so important, then every insurance company on earth should cover mental health. I feel like so. But I'm just one person. It's just my mind. But I really feel like that. I feel like that. I really, really do. I feel like there should be no stipulations at all. I really do. But, like I say, some may not use it. You know, even if insurances, they all say that, we're gonna cover mental health, some may not use it, some, it may not be for everybody. And you can't force people to get therapy. You can't do that. They gotta want to do it for themselves. Now there are some people, like, they get advice that, hey, you should go to therapy, and they're like, you know what, maybe it won't be bad, or, you know just, and it may take them a long time to do it. But I would say talking is very is it's very is it could be detrimental, and it's very helpful. And I'm not saying, it's a cookie cutter thing, because like I say, everything don't fit for everybody. But I don't feel like it's bad. And I feel like it is very helpful to a lot, and it can help a lot of people. I feel like maybe it can even keep people out of the hospital with stress and all those things, if they were just able to talk to somebody. But this was another penny for my thoughts, of just my thoughts and just how I think. But like I always say, keep your mental healthy as much as you can. Whether you talk to a therapist or not, strive to keep your mental healthy. Okay, thank you.